The meaning of life is to give life meaning. For most of history, leisure was a rare thing, a privilege for only a few. Before the Second Industrial Revolution, almost everyone lived in the countryside and worked in agriculture. Day-to-day tasks were very tiring and revolved around basic needs such as growing food and looking after homes. Community life was important, and moments of fun took place mainly at festivals celebrating the seasons or social events. Free time was very limited, and society was very different from the one that would emerge later in large industrialized cities. At the end of the 19th century, what many call the leisure revolution took place. With industrialization, many people left the countryside to work in the big cities. For the first time, many people began to have regular free time and the chance to decide what to do outside of working hours. Since then, more than 100 years have passed, and today we have much more leisure than our ancestors ever did. Modern people have a freedom that would have been unimaginable in the past, without the same worries about survival. However, this freedom raises an important question. How should we use the time that isn't taken up with basic needs? For many, this question doesn't even cross their minds. Instead of thinking about how to make better use of their free time, most people get used to relaxing passively, as if resting and consuming were the best choices. This behavior can lead to dull lives. The 20th century philosopher Richard Taylor noted that many people end up settling into repetitive routines and activities, missing out on the chance to develop their true potential. Everyone pays homage to the cult of the self, the worship of self in which everyone is his or her own priest. Most people lead a life that is, in a way, quite predictable and limited. They wake up, follow almost identical routines every day, and when they have free time, they devote it to activities that don't require much effort or involvement. They watch TV series, follow sports matches, or spend hours and hours on social media, quickly skimming through content that soon gets lost in their memory. They talk about the weather, or what an acquaintance has done, exchanging information that will soon be forgotten. And so time passes, with days that look very similar to each other. For many, it's such a familiar cycle that it becomes comfortable, but ultimately not very constructive. And so, at the end of their lives, these people leave the world almost as they found it, without having created or left anything special, without having dared to reflect deeply on life or their own existence. This kind of life is seen as normal. It's the path that most people choose or follow without question. However, it is a routine that rarely leads to greater fulfillment. Some might argue that there's nothing wrong with living this way. In a world that seems to be always running, where people are increasingly anxious, with an increase in mental problems, and where stress is part of everyday life, it's understandable to seek a quiet and relaxing life. It's easy to think that the secret to well-being lies in resting and avoiding great ambitions. However, writer Colin Wilson believed that prolonged inactivity does not bring the peace that many hope to find. According to him, the absence of deep challenges and stimuli can instead generate an internal emptiness, leading to feelings of sadness and apathy. For Wilson, a life without purpose or challenge can end up suffocating the human spirit, resulting in a mental fatigue that has nothing to do with ordinary stress, but rather with the lack of something truly inspiring to live for. Wilson discovered this at a young age. In his autobiography, Dreaming to Some Purpose, he tells how he had bouts of depression and identified with the idea that everything is vanity. Determined to understand the reason for his sadness, he noticed a pattern. His crises came when he spent too much time without challenges. When he didn't occupy his time with something interesting, he soon felt discouraged, with a negative outlook on life. There's a saying, "An empty mind is the devil's workshop." Wilson expressed it in a similar way. Boredom, passivity, and stagnation are the beginnings of mental problems which spread like foam on a still pond. If there's meaning in life at all, then there must be meaning in suffering. But if the link between passivity and mental problems that Wilson pointed out is true, then we have an important choice to make. We can use our free time on idle and meaningless activities, which leaves our talents hidden and increases our chances of mental problems. Or we can use our free time to create, discover, learn, and act, challenging our abilities and developing our talents. Even if this second option requires effort and the sacrifice of quick pleasures, the reward, stronger mental health and great personal growth, is worth it. Wilson wrote that a mentally healthy person is one who can use their vital energies in a profound way. When someone leaves their mind idle, only using the most superficial thoughts, they can end up with a feeling of disconnection and suffering, as if they were far from their own powers. But what if this relationship between passivity and sadness that Wilson described doesn't apply to everyone? What if only part of them, those with a great desire to create, feel the effects of passivity? Perhaps for some people, being still and quiet doesn't cause the same suffering as it did for Wilson. If so, would trying to fill the time with creative activities be a wasted effort? In his book, Restoring Pride, Richard Taylor argues that the effort to create and make something is worthwhile because it increases the chances of achieving a rare feeling, pride. Taylor describes pride as a true and well-deserved love for oneself and explains that in order to feel truly proud, you need to develop an extraordinary skill in some specific area, reaching a level of excellence that makes you unique. The idea that some people might have greater value than others seems uncomfortable, especially in today's context, where the notion of equality is ever present. Most of us think that everyone should be treated with respect and fairness, that everyone has the same rights. And this is right and fundamental. However, the idea of equal rights is often confused with the idea that everyone has the same value or impact in the world. The ancient Greeks perceived a subtle but important difference. Everyone deserves fair treatment, but not everyone chooses a life path that leads to true personal development. For them, only those who pursued virtue, who dedicated themselves to self-improvement and the creation of something lasting, really made a difference. The vast majority of people, they believed, followed the crowd, content with an ordinary life, without seeking anything beyond the day-to-day. The goal was not for everyone to be an inventor, a doctor, or a lawyer. The goal is to give equal opportunity to choose, not for everyone to be the same side of a coin. These unique individuals, who strived for excellence and didn't let themselves be brought down by the opinions of others, were seen as the superiors by the ancient Greeks. This is not superiority in an arrogant sense, but rather the ability to stand out for their efforts and virtues. They dedicated their lives to developing special skills or creating works that enriched the world and lasted far beyond their lifetimes. The philosopher or artist who dedicated themselves to their work, the leader who guided with wisdom and courage, or the poet who found beauty in the simple things in life, they all had something in common. They were people capable of truly loving themselves, of appreciating their own virtues without deceiving themselves or seeking external approval. This emotional self-sufficiency, this authentic and genuine love for who they are and what they have created, is something rare. It's what makes them, in the view of the ancient Greeks, truly exceptional people, whose lives have a unique brilliance and meaning. Focus on the present moment and living each day to its fullest, without worrying about the past or the future. The next time we have a free moment, instead of automatically throwing ourselves into easy and comfortable activities, we can reflect on whether that immediate pleasure is really worth the price it charges. Sometimes these choices of rest don't make us sad or discouraged at the time, but little by little they can diminish our value as people, limiting our chance of achieving true and lasting pride. It's as if, by preferring the easy, we leave an important part of ourselves asleep. We may even feel a momentary relief, but we're exchanging something great and lasting for a brief satisfaction. Taylor expresses this idea with impressive clarity. Undoubtedly, some people are born and destined to live in an ordinary way, without a great purpose. But this is rare. Most people have the power to create, and some possess this power in an almost magical way. He suggests that each of us carries an extraordinary potential to do something unique, something that only we ourselves could create. Many people, however, seem content to live in a quiet and predictable way, where well-being is measured by the minimum of pain, the little fun moments in everyday life, and social approval. They believe they have had a good life if they can avoid problems and live without too many difficulties. However, this is only a simplified version of what life can offer. Even those people who possess brilliant and special potential within themselves often leave it hidden, stifled by comfortable routine and the desire to please. Taylor reminds us that while it's natural to want to rest and enjoy simple pleasures, we can also look for something that makes us feel truly fulfilled, something that goes beyond the basic side of our nature. After all, within each of us there may be a talent, an idea, or a strength that could, if allowed to shine, bring something new and meaningful to the world. Just doing what others have already done is safe and comfortable, but doing something truly original, and doing it well, whether other people like it or not, is what it really means to be human. And that's what justifies true love for oneself. which is pride. At the end of all these ideas, it's clear that free time, which is one of the greatest luxuries of modern life, shouldn't be seen as an empty space to be occupied in any way, but rather as a precious chance to discover our true potential. Today, we live in a time when comfort and distractions are everywhere, as in the card video I made a while ago. But the real challenge is to resist the temptation to stand still and look for something bigger, something that really makes us feel alive. We all have within us the ability to create, to do something new, and to make a difference. But this requires effort, patience, and above all, the courage to leave our comfort zone. Perhaps the greatest lesson is to understand that the search for meaning and personal fulfillment is not an easy path, but it is undoubtedly the most rewarding. After all, what we do with our time is what ultimately defines who we really are.